Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about why I didn't report. For anyone who's unfamiliar with the hashtag, it's being used by individuals who were victims of sexual assault, but for any number of reasons did not report the assault. So, first things first, you can't talk about sexual assault without talking about sexual assault. So, it's a sensitive topic. I myself have only shared what I'm going to be talking about with Mark, my partner, and a couple of therapists. Why, may you ask then, am I going to broadcast it on YouTube? I've made some peace with this. It's a topical sort of issue that is, finding its way into the mainstream finally. And I feel like I'm in a place where I'm prepared to join the discussion. So, in doing so, and it's in the spirit of the work that I do, where I try to share my lived experience with other people, this is something I'm introducing into that. Now, I've never done this before outside of a doctor's office, so bear with me. So, I'll try to keep this PG-13, because I don't want people to get turned off by dirty language or my swearing or anything like that. If you don't like smoking, I'm sorry. So 2007, summer 2007. I can't tell you the day, I can't tell you the month because I was drunk and I don't remember. I'll put my glasses on for a second because I took notes, but this is rude to keep squinting. I was 24, maybe 25. My birthday's in the summer. And it was in the height. I had just moved home to my parents' house after losing a job due to my excessive drinking and alcoholism. And I was still drinking at the time. And I had gone out one night, borrowed my parents' car, and went to a local gay bar in the area where I live. I live in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And in the bar, I had run into an individual who I had chatted with before online. And it was not really a date, we were just kind of having a drink. Living with my parents in a semi-rural area where there's, not really too many gay people, it was nice to have somebody else to kind of chat with. And of course, somebody who'd buy me some drinks. So, we get to the bar, and we're talking, and I knew very little about the guy. I knew he was a trucker. I knew that he was 5'8" and 130 pounds. And I knew that he was HIV positive. This was not a shock to me. This was not an issue for me. I had had friends who were positive before, even if it had gone, into any sort of intimate realm. I'm familiar with safer sex, outer course, all of that stuff. And I, was brought up Catholic, so some of that stuff did stick. You don't mess around on the first date, So that being kind of like, stuck in my head, we're having drinks, and it's getting close to last call. And at last call, I'm still thirsty because I was a bottomless pit when it came to alcohol. And he says, well, do you want to go back to my place? Sure. You got booze? There we go. So we go back to his place. And I leave my car at the bar. So now he's my transportation. I have no idea where we go. It's rural. And if you go half an hour in any direction outside of Scranton, it gets rural fast. I think he had an SUV. We get to his house. It vaguely looked like a log cabin inside. And I remember he poured a drink for each of us, and we sat on the couch and we were talking. And then I either passed out or blacked out because I don't remember too much after that. I remember coming to, and it was still dark out, and I was in a bed, apparently his bed, and he was on top of me. I was uncomfortable. I couldn't really pinpoint it, but I was uncomfortable. I don't remember what was going on. I remember his skin he was very pale, and his skin felt like rubbery. Not sticky, not tacky, rubbery. Like you had rubber gloves on or something. Closed my eyes, passed out again, and then it's morning all of a sudden. Early morning, and I'm the only one in the bed, and he's doing that hustle to get me out of the room and get me out of his house. And I had been promiscuous when I lived in Philadelphia, so I was familiar with the good morning, get out sort of thing. As I was laying in the bed, I noticed I don't have any pants on. I don't have any underwear on. And I became acutely aware that I was in pain, quite a bit of pain. And again, without going into too much detail, there's a couple positions that people can take during intercourse between men. And it seems like something had happened to me that was not in my preferred position. I was having quite a bit of pain in the rear. That's not usually how my full Monty intimate encounters would go. So I wasn't really sure what had happened. That was something I had experimented with like in college and decided wasn't for me. I was on the other side of the fence. So I'm still drunk when I wake up. I get my stuff together. I'm kind of confused. I don't really know what's going on. I think I took a bottle of vodka off his bar, dumped half of it into a water bottle, screwed it up, threw it in my bag. And he drove me back to the bar. I got in my car and I drove home. And freaked out like over the next few days. So, let me see what time we're at. Not too bad. So, freaked out over the next few days. Didn't occur to me till 2 days later that not being able to consent and not remembering or blacking out, or more likely, passing out, something happened to me that I didn't, I wasn't able to say no or to fight back. And given what I knew about myself and having had, this is a horrible basis for comparison. It doesn't say much about me at the time. I was sick, but I also had very little respect for other people, too. I had slept around drunk a lot before that, and nothing had ever happened. And I had had intimate encounters with people before when I was almost blacked out, or probably blacked out, and gone home the next morning, and nothing had ever happened as far as I knew. This time something was different. This time something happened. Something had happened. I felt it. I knew it. Physically, I felt it. Boundaries that I had kept when I was wrecked feel like they were violated then. And I went home and I was bleeding, and there was some other stuff going on. So I go to the doctor a month later and I want an HIV test, and I get one because it didn't occur to me, what if he had sex with me? What if he wasn't wearing a condom? I don't know this guy. I met him online, and then I followed him home from a bar. Like, what was I thinking? So 6 months later, test comes back negative, relief off of me. I was sober, incidentally, for the 6 months in between, and the day after I got the test results, I started drinking again. I also put on about, 30 pounds after that, too. So why didn't I tell anybody? Why didn't I report it? A lot of the same reasons other people will say, probably. Well, first of all, I'm a guy. Outside of a prison, I don't think a lot of people think guys can sexually assault guys. If you're in the gay community, you probably know that's not true. But it happens. Furthermore, I am 6 feet tall, and at the time I was about 230 pounds. He was 5'8" and 130 soaking wet on a good day. So if anyone was going to look at either of us and say who assaulted who, I don't think they're going to look at featherweight and think that he hurt me. It just didn't look like it made sense. I was drunk. I was drunk when it happened. I was drunk other times when similar situations happened. It's just that this time something bad happened. All those times that people warn you and say something bad's going to happen to you, this was the time something bad happened to me. And I didn't feel like I could go back to any of those people and say something happened without, I was waiting for the told you so. And I didn't want to hear that. So I didn't tell anybody. Also, I thought I was too ugly because, again, I was overweight. I was 230, balding. I just didn't cut my hair today, so you can see that. So I thought, I was too ugly to get raped. I was too ugly to get assaulted. You know, pick someone cuter, but still, it still happened. Details were lost. It took me. I had to talk this out with Mark to get the timeline down, because that year I had moved twice, and visited home twice. I had come home on a medical leave to get some treatment, which didn't work, and then moved back in with my parents again. And I didn't remember when it happened. I knew it was spring or summer, and I knew it was 2007, but I couldn't put a time on it. And I thought, if you can't even remember when it happened, how are you going to tell anybody what happened? Interestingly, it didn't occur to me to pursue charges against the person. That's not what I wanted to have happen going forward. I didn't feel like that. And I think probably the reason I didn't feel like that is because I pretty much thought it was my fault. I thought, you got yourself drunk, you were chasing another drink because you are a drunk, and lesson learned. You shouldn't have put yourself in that situation. And that's how I felt about it for a long time. Now, if anyone had come to me and described those circumstances, I would do my best to try to help them, undo their own guilt if they had any. It's your responsibility you got drunk, but the number one cause of rape is rapists, okay? So, put yourself in whatever position, maybe be more cautious, but you did not cause him to penetrate you. I did not cause him to leave me in a position where I'd be, sore and bloody and then try to have to decide who I could even tell about it, I lied a lot when I used to drink too. I mean, I would make up any story under the sun, and I tended to be dramatic because drunks tend to be dramatic. This would have probably just fallen right in line with another bunch of my tall tales. So there wasn't the time to tell anybody about it because nobody would have believed me. And it's, I kind of dug my own grave in a different set of circumstances to where when this occurred, I didn't feel like there was anyone I could tell that was going to say, I believe you. I think that's all I wanted to hear. It wasn't so much I wanted anyone to press charges or anyone to say, let's go get the guy, let's go slash his tires. I had friends that would do that stuff, but I just wanted someone to say, hey, I'm sorry that happened to you. That must have been really hard. That must have been really confusing that you couldn't put the dates together. That must have been frustrating. That must have made you doubt yourself. That must have made you feel like you didn't matter. I just wanted somebody to validate that I felt like garbage and that I felt like I caused it. But, I didn't have anybody to do that. I kept it to myself. I was 25. It didn't come out again it didn't come out at all until I was 30. And I told a therapist. And I told another therapist that year. And then it came out once I was with Mark. I don't remember when. So, I don't really... Again, this is, I don't like crying. Mark's having a hard day. I can't be the one crying when he gets home. But the only reason I'm a couple reasons I'm putting it out there. This does get a little bit of it off my chest. Some part of this is self-serving. It puts it out there. It cuts my grief in half when I can, get it off my chest. But also, if you identified, with any part of this, I don't want you to feel like a freak like I did. I felt like because I was a guy, because I was fat, because I was bald, because I was drunk, because I couldn't remember details, because I couldn't tell what month it happened. I can remember a guy with pale rubbery skin who left me stumbling home the next day, walking like a cowboy. That much I remember. I remember his mullet. I remember the hat he was wearing. I remember he wanted me to rub his feet. I remember, and that was our last discussion on the couch. Do you mind rubbing my feet? And then the lights went out. So those are the reasons I didn't report, and that's why I'm just bringing it up now. I felt like I had something to contribute to the discussion. At least share a little bit of my own experience with it. Again, sharing this publicly is kind of especially since some close friends and family don't know, and this is not intended to be a bombshell to any of them. This does not mean I did not think highly of them when this happened. This does not mean I don't love my family and friends. All this means, when I didn't tell them at the time, is that I didn't trust myself and I blamed myself. So I didn't, and in light of what else was going on in my life at the time, with my drinking and dishonesty, I didn't feel like I could say anything. I don't, in my core, believe that I would have probably been turned away by family and loved ones, but I was too insecure in all that, in the circumstances, to say anything. So thank you guys for listening. This was a little more emotional than I thought it was going to be. Nervous laughter much. Please feel free to subscribe. I talk usually more about mental health and weight and stuff like that, but I thought this was important. So, get the alerts, hit the like button, share if you feel it's worth sharing, or if you know someone that, you like to think you're helping other people and not talking about yourself the whole time. If you think I am, give me a heads up. And I'll catch up with y'all soon. Bye.